want to go over that with you. We have 3 ways to communicate for this public hearing. And let me say this about the public hearing. This is your time. You are Franklin Countyans. This is a proposal that is going to be paid for by you as Franklin Countyans. So we want you to hear what is being proposed and have comments about it. As part of the process, there are 3 members, voting members of the committee, and that is the Park Committee. Those 3 members are myself, Squire Tracy in the back, and Squire Mueller over on the side. Those are the voting members. The 3 ex officio members, which aren't voting members but are part of the staff, are Robert Hewitt, Charlie Lewis, and Ann Northcutt, our grants administrator. Ann's not here tonight, but she's on Zoom. Now, as part of this, we have you that's here. We have those that are on Zoom. And we also have people that have submitted questions or responses on the or an email. So, with that being said, as part of this process, I want to bring up, we're going to do it this way. In person, all of you in person, if you've signed up, we're going to get you in here to the best of our ability as quickly as possible. Now, once I see how many there are, that will tell me how much time we get. So we're going to get to you at 5:30. In just a moment, the presentation will begin. At 5:30, that will end, and at that time, we'll have the public comments from you. After that, we'll do the Zoom, and after that, if we have time, we'll do email. So, I want to bring up Squire Mueller, if he would. Squire Mueller is a member of the committee, and I want him to also welcome you as part of being here today. Squire Mueller.
None of that. So I didn't know I was going to speak, but I'm happy to speak. I am just floored by the amount of people that are here in this room. I think it shows the desire to want to do something in Franklin County. You know, we, the Park Committee, have been working on this for probably about a year with the Hitchcock Group. Couldn't say enough fine things about this group right here out of Indianapolis. It was a big, long selection to pick them, and I'm glad we did. They've really taken the opportunity to listen to what the community needs, wants are, and then look at regional needs and thoughts. So I'm excited to be here. I'm not going to stand up here and talk. Just hopefully we'll have a great evening and everything will go well. And thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you, Squire Mueller. Squire Tracy. Would you come up here, Squire Tracy? Everybody, if you're going to speak, you'll have to come up to this microphone here, if you would. You can take your mask off if you're going to speak as well.
I too would like to thank you all for coming out. Thank you all, the Hitchcock Group, for coming in, doing your all's due diligence. This plan, the programs that you all are going to see tonight have been identified through the community input and the regional needs assessment. So tonight you're really going to hear about the programs that were selected. With that being said, I know, Mr. Kopp, you got a 6 o'clock that you'd like to say something. And then guys, fire away. Thank you all.
Okay. So once again, when it comes your time to speak, you'll come up here. Did Houston get here? Houston Barber? He's not able to make it. Okay. Okay. Mark Kopp has a board meeting that he has to go to tonight. So he, as the superintendent of the Franklin County Schools, I've asked him to come up and give a brief comment. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kopp.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's exciting also for me, representing Franklin County Schools, to see this. And more importantly, Who Day?
The Bengals.
Come on. The Bengals are in the Super Bowl, folks. I'll keep my comments brief, and I will speak for Houston Barber since he did give me permission to. And he did say that they were the second best school district in this region, so I'm really pleased to hear that. Oh, I'm just kidding. Houston and I are really excited about the possibilities that this project has for creating opportunities for students, both in the performing arts side as well as the athletic side. The one thing that I'll say is, in supporting this project, I do want to ensure that our opportunities for our golfers that we currently have remain in place. I know there's been a lot of discussion out there about the driving range and what that's going to look like. I've been informed that as part of the design phase, that's something that these folks can look at to ensure that we can continue to have those 40 spaces for our golfers. And that's exciting to me because, again, we're all about creating opportunities for kids, not taking them away. And if I could also just say this, I'm not sure if it could fit in with this project, but it's something that I've been kind of banging the table for a long time. We really need to, as a community, look for a way to build a pool, an indoor pool for our swimmers. We do. We have a lot of athletes in this community that would be well served by that. So if we can look at some way, whether it's connected to this or not connected to this, I'm more than willing as superintendent of our school district, and I know Houston is as well, to do whatever we can to make that happen. So with that, thank you guys so much for the work that you've put in. Thank you for the design. We're so excited for the opportunities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cox. Last bit about the process. The process worked through several different meetings, and in the end, this is what the committee decided to do. The committee decided, originally the committee was told to go back into a draft and put in everything that you wanted in. We did that. As you know, there was a lot of good pieces that were put in there. The committee then decided on a 2-to-1 vote to go back to the original draft that was sent prior to us putting back in there what was wanted. So you are seeing what the committee on a 2-to-1 vote decided to put in as part of the Lakeview Park Master Plan. With that being said, thank you once again for being here. Thank you, Hitchcock Group. And Charlie Lewis, I'll let you go next to present the Hitchcock Group.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. As I look around the room, I can see how important this project is. Being with Lakeview Park for 25 years, something like this that you're getting ready to see the Hitchcock Group present is something that we've never embarked on before. So it's really important. We appreciate your all's input. We appreciate your all's desires. We want to keep it nice and calm and polite and do this with courtesy. So as we move forward, just keep that in mind. So again, I want to thank staff and the park committee and the Hitchcock Group. With that, we'll hand it over to you guys. Thank you all.
All right. Well, folks, you've been thanked for coming in multiple times, but I'm going to thank you again. We are very excited as the... Can you hear me? Oh, is this not a little better? Any better? Is that any better?
No, it must not be on.
Is it? I thought it was on. Hang on.
It was on earlier. Take their batteries out.
Okay. I will talk louder. I'll do my best. So, I want to thank you all for coming out. And really the purpose for this is to actually present the master plan for Lakeview Park. As the Judge mentioned, we're going to try to keep it to the presentation portion to an hour, but there's a lot of information here, a lot of moving parts, and we want to make sure that you all are clear on the process, how we got there, and what we're presenting, and how that came about.
Yeah, there you go. Just take it.
All right. All right. So, that being said, I got too many things going on here. We've also got comment cards. Please, if you have to leave early, grab a comment card. If you've got any comments based on what you've heard, leave us comments. We'd appreciate it. Those will be compiled and incorporated into the final document, which will be, we hope, complete probably this week, if not early next week. So, our team. I would like to say this is a big project, and it is very complex. And the team is really a combination of the park committee, the public, and our consultants team. So I'll introduce our consultant team real quick. from Hitchcock Design Group. My name's Randy Royer, by the way. This is Shannon Creasy. We're both landscape architects and land planners with Hitchcock. This is Phil Parnan. He's with Pros. And by the way, in a previous lifetime was a park director, so he's been on both sides of the table. Then we have Kenny McDaniel. He's with BFW, civil engineer, and helped us really analyze, take a look at the site, make sure that what we heard, what we are recommending was actually possible from a civil engineering standpoint. And then we've got Mark Thompson, and he is really our Parks and Rec expert as well. In a previous life, he was a park director. So he's been through this process quite a bit. Now, maybe. Is it not going? Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this project, get my notes here. This project was had some objectives that the park committee listed when we decided that we were going to pursue the project. Whoa, what happened?
It's where people are coming into the Zoom, so.
Oh, okay. All right, so these include public engagement. That was very important, that the park committee made it very clear public engagement was something that they wanted to see happen. Community assessment need, what opportunities are out there today, and what do you need as a community. And then make design recommendations for the park facility improvements. Funding and fiscal analysis, so we can come up with some great ideas, but how are you going to fund it, and how is it long-term going to work? And then an implementation strategy. These projects can be pretty complex, so what's the best way to go about doing something like this? So let's see if I can. Whoops. Okay, process. So our process is really a three-phase process. You can see analyze, connect, and envision. In the analyze phase, that's when we collected information, technical information, the information about the site, what kind of programs were currently being run on the run in the park, what kind of recreation opportunities are available in the community. In the connect phase, which you'll see along the bottom, it kind of runs all the way across because that's about connecting to the community and hearing people's comments. We had a number of stakeholder meetings that included schools. We talked to folks from the fair. We talked to a number of sports groups. So we talked to stakeholders, but then we also had public surveys online. I'm assuming you all took the survey, hopefully. But we had a great turnout for a community the size of yours. We had 875, I think, respondents to the survey, and over, I think, around 1,200 people that we engaged with. I don't know, did any of you make it to the park meeting? We had a kind of a day in the park, so we actually got to engage with a number of people there as well. As the process went through, we took all that information that we gathered, we developed a preliminary master plan, presented that to the committee, got feedback, came back, developed some more ideas, brought that, and that's just part of the design process. But then as we were doing that, Phil from Pros is starting to vet what's the highest and best use as we start thinking about the business side of things. And we landed on the final master plan, which is what we're going to be presenting tonight. And hopefully get some good input from you all. And with that, this is Kenny, I think.
Thank you.
Kenny? I'm going to turn it over to Kenny, our civil.
Hello, Kenny McDaniel, BFW. As the civil engineer on this, basically I was tasked in this phase of analyzing the site from environmental issues, soils, geotechnical or geological, surrounding uses of land and things like that. Not necessarily the fun part of a park, but it needs to go into the overall master plan as to things that don't need to be in this place. Okay. Here we did a map just showing the regional areas, basically the distance to downtown, distance to hotels in a radius. That information was put into Phil's magic numbers and computed a lot of information that he will share with you, not me. Okay. Site inventory, basically looking at the parks land, as you might recognize here, we do have a business park that has been cut out of this property prior to the park being here, I believe. But environmental issues, we looked at floodplain, as I said before, geology. You can see here the lower portion of it does have active sinkholes or could see some sinkholes in the future. But looking at the topography, well-drained piece of land, silty loam soils, and just all in all, a very good piece of land to develop the things that we've looked at here. So next. Okay, as I said, wetlands, floodplain, it doesn't impact your park at all. Utilities, all the utilities needed for any kind of development here are either in the park currently or surrounding it on the edges, so very easily to get to. Soils, in general, the soils are silty loams, much like the rest of central and Kentucky, but geotechnical work on any major planning of design of major facilities will need to be done due to the sinkholes that we talked about earlier. It's not a showstopper by any means. They can be dealt with, they can be built on, you can develop the land. It just needs to be noted in the front end that the possibility is there. Archaeological, we had no returns from archaeological endangered species. We've got a few things to look for, but again, it's nothing different than any other project that would go on in Kentucky. Okay. In conclusion, existing topography, landscape, canopy, ideal for, it's kind of a blank slate out there for whatever you would want to do. You've got a lot of neighborhoods, residential use in the area. You have a school right beside you that could possibly use the property. Ideal location for people, families, everybody getting to. There are no limitations on species, habitats, floodplains, wetlands, and archaeology. Like I said, there are a few things we need to look for through the development of it, but it is definitely not a showstopper or anything that really needs to be concerned with at this time. The utilities, with some of the stuff that we have proposed here in the master plan, I anticipate some expansions or upgrades in water and sewer service to the park, electrical service, things like that, data. But again, working with the local utility companies, I think that will easily be managed. And then the circulation and connectivity through the park and with the adjoining neighborhoods and the county for that matter, we found no issues there. And with that, I will let Phil take over.
Thank you. All right, so as part of this process, we had to do another analysis for community assessment and need, but we also conducted a study for market, and I want to share a little bit of information on that. Let me just head to my notes here. So during the kickoff meeting, the consulting team and staff identified the engagement strategy, which included a few surveys, as well as the event in the park, as well as the needs assessment, that was the longer survey that was taken, and the focus groups. As part of this, the event in the park was held on June 17th. Great day, great opportunity, and we received a lot of surveys from that. The engagement methods that we had overall were very strongly supported. Thank you. I'll just say next slide. I appreciate that. So, as part of this, we took a look at the population. The population for the county is at 54,000 roughly, or I'm sorry, 52,000 roughly, and also consists of median age of 41.9, as well as a large 55 plus population, which is expected to continue to age and increase in size of the age segments. As far as race and ethnicity, 82% white alone, and 11% of the population is black alone. 4% of the population is of Hispanic or Latino descent. And then as far as income, the median household income around $57,000. It is above the state average and below the national average. Next slide, please. So as part of this process, I was explaining the amount of community engagement that took place, and we'll cover that now. Next slide, please. So as part of this, as I said, we had the event in the park. We had a great turnout. It was a great opportunity. We didn't really think it was going to be with the start of the day, considering the amount of rain that had come in the night before and that early morning. But with that turnout, we were able to identify from those folks that attended and participated what their interests were. We were even able to promote the survey via the news media that came out for that day as well too. Next slide, please. So, as Randy had said, we had a little over 1,200 participants, and we were able to provide a lot of information and gain a lot of information during that time. We conducted 3 focus groups, which had about 51 participants. We had that open house, which had 281 people, and the intercept survey, we had 127 participate. With the online survey for community needs, 875 for a population of 52,000 is pretty impressive. We've done these projects, including for Hamilton County in Cincinnati, and have not always gotten such a large percentage of returns. So that's very wonderful that that many individuals were willing to participate and take place. It's a lot of community input to gather and assimilate. So next slide, please. When we conducted this, our goal was to identify what was most important from all of the avenues that we were collecting the information. And so from the stakeholder workshop and surveys, from the community open house and the intercept survey, and then from the community needs assessment. And all of that input is guided by the guiding principles that you see on the right of the figure. So revenue generation, regional draw, local needs, economic impact, year-round capabilities, and the available funding were all identified as part of the RFQ that went out, and also reinforced from the stakeholder input that we had received when we began the project. Next slide, please. So as part of this, it was our goal to identify the highest and the best use that would achieve those guiding principles. And that core program is, next slide please, identified here in 3 main categories to start with. Number 1, improve what exists within the park today. Number 2, connectivity. And number 3, providing new opportunities based upon recreational trends as well. And so I want to highlight just a few of these. The golf course is the best use at that location, obviously considering some of the environmental, but also considering the impact that that has on helping develop golfers for the community as well. As part of that, we also had the outdoor sports fields, which were desired to be improved, and if space allotted, to add to those as well too. That's highest and best use, and it also serves locally, but achieves that regional draw that the committee wanted as well. We looked at motorsports, and we felt that that was an important component as well, as it continues the diverse events and activities that exist within the park today, but there might be some improvements that could be contributed to as part of that improvement as well. We recognize that trail connectivity would be important. From all the surveys that we've done across the country, since the early 2000s, trail connectivity has come in at the top of the list in almost every community for assets to be developed. The indoor recreational opportunity, as far as the recreation and convention facility, was to accomplish 2 goals that were identified. 1, the local need, because it will provide that indoor space for local year-round use, as well as that regional draw year-round use as well. We also looked at the amphitheater and some additional shelters, those things that really make family gathering at Lakeview Park an important component to people's quality of life. Next slide, please. And with that, I will hand it off to Shannon.
All right. Settle here. Get the laser. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So just as everybody has set up here, this is a master plan. Nothing is necessarily set in stone. We wanted to take everything that Phil's data provided, and as landscape architects and engineers, we get the fun opportunity to try to place as much of these opportunities and amenities within the site of Lakeview Park. So with that, here is our proposed recommendation and plans. I'll kind of dive in. We'll start overall and dive into a little bit more detail of each implementation, but we just wanted to say that everything that is going to be recommended here in the next phase of design development will have to be further detailed out. And again, that leads to a lot more opportunities, a lot more details when it comes to funding and just feasibility, really. But this is where we're going to start. So as far as an overall big picture, you'll get to see that really connectivity and signage was a big recommendation that we wanted to work through. Park Lane is kind of, oops, sorry. We recommended a grand entrance here off of Stedmantown Lane. Right now you guys have 2 entrances with Lakeview Park, one off of East Main Street and one off of Stedmantown Lane. We looked at both of these and looked at really East Main Street as an opportunity for a main entrance, but really thought that the Park Lane opportunity provided a little bit more opportunity with wayfinding and directional signage. Also, with a grant that the county's already been granted or awarded, they have monies to really create a grand entrance here, as well as additional pedestrian traffic or pedestrian sidewalks to get people in and around the park. You'll also notice we are proposing an additional 3rd entry here. This is really just to help through logistics of the park, getting in and out of parking as far as large events when it comes to tournaments, concerts, or any other programmed event, large event that we might have in the park. And we've also proposed quite a bit more trails throughout the park connecting all these proposed amenities and just different ways for people to get through. As Phil mentioned, and also Mr. Kopp, we don't want to take away from opportunities that Lakeview Park already has. We've really tried to implement and propose opportunities that would really provide ease of logistics and everything that. So when it comes to the fair, when it comes to other festivals that are held within the park, we've tried to only provide opportunities that are going to really help with the logistics and improve the experience for users, hosts, and everybody involved. So we can kind of get into a little bit of that as well. And as far as just overall cohesive design, all of this should feel like Lakeview Park, should share with the identity of Lakeview Park, and can have a consistent look, feel of Central Kentucky that it already has right now. So to dive into a little bit more of these details, we'll start here on the left with the multi-use recreation and convention facility that was proposed within our program. So this is a general layout. Again, this will have to be further developed, but it is a 160,000 square foot building, which is a large building. But the fact is that it would provide a lot of opportunities and various flexibility for different uses throughout the building. So I'm gonna go to my notes here for a little bit more detail. But within the 160,000 square feet, I like to think it would be broken up into one side recreational, one side convention. The recreation facility would be about 75,000 square feet. So picture 8 basketball fields, and that would kind of be your open field house. This could also then be translated into volleyball, tennis courts, pickleball courts, futsal. It could also be cleared to host gymnastics and cheerleading competitions. There would also be an opportunity to have retractable seating for large events inside, as far as conventions, things of that sort. Within the rest of the square footage, we would also have an indoor track that could go around this field house, and convention area with conference and meeting rooms and administration offices. We're also showing okay. We are also showing right here that within the square footage would also be the pro shop and range entrance, driving range entrance. We know that because of the high use of the golf course and driving range, we'd want to incorporate it into this building. All right, the driving range shown here is the existing width of the current driving range. We are shortening it quite a bit to 240 yards. This is to accommodate the size of the, I'm sorry, can we hold to the end? Thank you, I appreciate it. And then we are proposing, because of shortening that the driving range would be fenced and lit, so that it not only would it expand use into the night, but it also throughout the year. To incorporate more opportunities throughout the year, we are proposing some heated bays on the second floor of the Multi-Use Recreation and Convention Center that could be used, again, into the winter months. And we also know that, again, in order to keep the golf course and driving range at its best use, we want to make sure there is still a short game complex for putting and all that jazz. And covered cart parking is also proposed. There are still existing grass tees within the front of the building as well. As you can see then too, we've had, just to accommodate the size of events that would be hosted within this building, a large parking lot is necessary. There are opportunities, we worked with Kenny to talk about rain gardens and biospheres within the parking lot to really make it feel more of a landscape park feel. We don't want to just come in and just plop a huge hardscape throughout the middle of the park. The multi-use convention center is central to the park, kind of creating a strong access and a landmark through there. There's also a strong, we'll get here in a little bit, but there is a strong pedestrian access then leading from the convention center. We are also recommending moving the dog park. The current dog park is already greatly used by both humans and canines, but moving it to this location provides a little bit more in and out opportunity, as well as a direct connection to a lot of the pedestrian trails that we are proposing. But this dog park has 3 separate uses: small dog, large dog, and then potential water kind of dog opportunity as well. So that is kind of that main entrance off of Park Lane in the Multi-Use Recreation Center. We'll move to the northwest part of the park right now, up here, what we're kind of calling the sports complex. What's not shown is that we are proposing to expand this parking lot to create, again, additional parking to host all of these games. The sports, or the softball complex is already there, but we would like to, where we do recommend shifting those to turf fields, as well as updating the concessions building for more opportunities to host tournaments and kind of create a larger draw within softball. These multi-use field complexes are then 3 turf fields, as well as ADA viewing within here, and another shelter and proposed restroom. There's also, current to what you guys have there, we do have additional grass fields within here. This leads to another, what we're calling kind of core area. This is a proposed play feature and splash pad within the park. The improvements do require the need to remove the existing Hancock and the Hancock Pavilion, but we recommend adding this welcome pavilion that is kind of the strong access right off of the welcome or the multi-use and kind of leads to the sports complex. This would be an indoor-outdoor building with restrooms, as well as just an opportunity to rent it out for families, parties, events like that. Again, this is a universal play feature that we are recommending. This is tripling the size of the current play feature that's right there. Again, this would need to be further developed, but this shows 2 different play features for different ages groups, you know, the younger kids and then the 5 to 12s, as well as a play set and several other areas for sensory activities throughout this play feature. It also creates an opportunity for theming. Lakeview Park and Frankfurt have a great history, and obviously we could really look into theming for both the playground and the splash pad here. The splash pad then is also doubling the size of what's currently there. We worked with Kenny that the utilities needed for that would need to be expanded to accommodate that purpose. But then another community pavilion and additional seating would be proposed as well to again host families who are here more for ancillary brothers and sisters during the tournaments, as well as just local needs to rent out the pavilions. Again, to just touch on where we're at, I wanted to zoom out a little bit, just talk about the Motorsports Arena. We have proposed expanding this to, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we've expanded it about 20 feet wider and proposing a new press box with telecom and electricity so that we can light those up at night. This new drive as well would provide an opportunity for vehicular access right here off the edge, and using the topography to create some kind of outcropping stone that would create kind of like a terrace seating opportunities there as well. All right, so then we will move down to the golf course, the amphitheater area. As Phil mentioned, this is a great asset that Lakeview Park already has. Really, as far as improvements go here, we've included a budget number for irrigation and just some upkeep and maintenance to help out with the team there. We have kind of explored some opportunities with the existing horse arena that we could use the topography there to create a really neat 4,000 person seat amphitheater. This would be a band shell with open lawn for seating, and then a green room and some storage. Carter House, again, is another great asset that we've included a budget number just to again help with some improvements outside, as well as just an additional parking lot to provide areas for users to park. The other expansion that we've mentioned here is that the existing barns are beautiful, but really as an to become more of an asset for the Parks Committee or Parks District, We'd really need to upgrade those to really make it for a viable maintenance barns to create like a safe and usable space to work. So that's really refurbishing with heat weatherproofing and creating like lifts where they can work on maintenance. Another use for these barns would then to be expand the hardscape between these areas and create more of a market area so that people could host farmers markets, food truck markets, and festivals, stuff of that sort to really just make that area a little bit more usable. Skate park and pickleball were recently updated, and just again as part of the overall project, budget numbers have been included to help with improvements within these, but those for the most part will be staying as is. And then on the northeast corner of the park is the lowest area. So we are proposing a detention pond there and really naturalizing this space to become more of your passive recreation for people to come in and really kind of explore natural areas. We are proposing 3 shelters within this area as well as additional trails. And then overall, we still are proposing 5 additional shelters within the park. So 3 down here, 1 up by the skate park and pickleball, another one for the multi-use sports fields, and then 3 within the dog park. So that is a quick overview of a lot of the detail that we went into the master plan. Again, we can get into some of your questions here at the end. Some of the larger scale things that I wanted to just touch on really fast are some opportunities to connect these neighborhoods that we were talking about earlier during the analysis phase. So really kind of looking at maybe a rails to trails opportunity here, a safe routes to work or safe routes to school up here. When we talk about updating these fields, there is an opportunity to work with the schools to create championship fields within the school property. One other item of amenity that is already at the park is disc golf. Again, this would be an opportunity to work with the school committee to, again, keep 9 holes down here, but then expand the additional 9 holes up here. So again, this is a quick overview. We'd be happy to talk more about these recommendations, but we're going to go ahead and jump into how we could implement these improvements.
Look at this a couple different ways. Obviously, it's a big project. Well, and Phil's going to get up and talk about the ins and outs of it, but bottom line is we could take it all on at once, just muscle through it and get all these improvements made. But we also looked at, well, what if we baby stepped? What if we phase this? What are the opportunities and constraints of phasing it? So we looked at in phase 1, that would be, we want to get revenue generated, start paying you back for the money that you're going to spend on this facility, and start, have it start to pay for itself. So what you're seeing here is, first off, improve the golf course, take care of that. Get in, make the improvements to the sports fields so that you can start having tournaments and get tournaments in there. That's a revenue generator, but then it's also something that you all as taxpayers can use as well. Also gives you an opportunity that the fair can still happen. Also, on the other side, go ahead and improve or create the amphitheater, again, another revenue opportunity. And then enhance the barns, because the first thing, that's where the folks that are maintaining this are living and working. So we've got to get the barns taken care of. Let's go to the next slide. So that's basically phase 1 is that. Then phase 2 is, when you tackle the multi-use facility. And that obviously is pretty much it. It's the multi-use facility, improvements to the driving range, providing the stalls, indoor, outdoor stalls, which you currently have outdoor stalls. And then dog park, as well as plenty of parking. And then phase 3 is going in, and many of the items that are there, the splash pad, improving the play feature, making it universally designed so it can serve children with all abilities. And some of the improvements along the north side that Shannon had talked about earlier. And then also in the lower right-hand corner, improving that area, and it basically tying up all the loose ends in the program would happen in phase 3. So, Phil.
Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate it. All right. So what you see before you is a 6-year pro forma for all phases of development. The approach to the pro forma was conservative on the revenues and less conservative on the expenditures. There is a ramp-up period that will need to take place in order to hit the ground running for the project, meaning tournament organizers will need to know of the venue at least 1 year in advance in order to be able to begin scheduling activities there. If you wait until the facility is open, all that year's tournaments are already booked at other venues, and it will take even longer to ramp up the revenue for the facility. Revenues and expenditures are positioned pretty well with all 3 phases combined, as you see here. Each phase does not achieve the same outcome. From a budgetary standpoint, when they are done individually, one at a time. So it's important to understand how phasing is impacting the budget. All right, so what you see before you is the phased approach to the revenue and expenses. As you can see here, phase 1 generates a considerable amount of revenue, but we have a balance of local and tournament use. With more tournaments, additional revenue can be generated within phase 1. Positively, the cost recovery in phase 1 has increased compared to current levels. Phase 2 generates the most revenue. Obviously, with the indoor year-round capabilities, that would be the case. This revenue could be increased more with design details for the building. There's a lot of assumptions for the building currently. When the indoor facility moves forward, that's a great opportunity to define those spaces. As Shannon had said earlier, there's additional opportunities when those details start getting flushed out. At this juncture, this is a conservative approach to the convention and recreation facility with the rooms, and there's also room to improve those revenue numbers as well too, with the design of the rec and convention center. Phase 3 is minimal as far as revenue opportunity. It's essentially just the shelters. We had looked at the potential of charging for access to the dog park, as many communities do. However, felt that under the circumstances for this venue, having that dog park continue to remain free and open access for individuals visiting the park would be a good idea, since you have really little control over whether individuals are going to be bringing their dogs with them for these tournaments, and to have that opportunity to have them to be able to get out and run, and also something for siblings and parents to do in between games is a good idea. Overall, revenue potential is impacted if developed in phases. It's limiting the amount of synergy and the experience of the entire park, and therefore revenues are smaller. Completing all 3 phases in one creates that environment, that synergy, that excitement, that multiple things to do for an extended stay, half a day to a day easily. And again, that's if designed and built collectively all at once for all three phases. That is not to say that there will not be successes if it is built in phases, because there are. But there are some impacts to revenue generation that limits it, such as dealing with 3 periods of construction within the park that you would have to navigate through. There are individuals that will choose not to visit that location during those time periods. That's why one inconvenience of construction would be better for those who visit the park regularly and to have ease and access, but also to generate that synergy, that excitement, and the additional revenue. All right, so a summary of the financials for all phases essentially shows us that, why are you not working? To my notes. All right. The revenues and expenditures for all the phases have been combined in this. The revenue is at 5.4 million. The expenditures are at 4.4 million. Sponsorship level is identified as mid-range for annual revenues for a 5-year period with the 471,000 that you see there. So basically from operating the facility in all 3 phases, at the current price points, which are lower than what they would be if fully developed all at once, generates a little under $1 million in revenue above expenses. When you factor that in with the sponsorship, that gives you 1.4 million annually as far as revenue generation net. This is where the challenge begins. The debt service to construct all of these phases will essentially create a $1.8 million bill annually. Currently, that is about $414,000 short of paying that bond back. However, I think it's important to note that your current subsidy is for departmental operations and periodic asset improvements, where the majority of this is all towards assets. Operations continue year after year after year. This would have a 30-year payback and then stop, so that subsidy level would not need to be there. So the difference is not so much in the amount of the subsidy, but that current subsidy for annual operations doesn't expire, but the assets that are being added to the facility and the debt payback will. Great. So with that, there's an ancillary impact that comes from providing these types of facilities and services, and that is the economic impact to the community. Based upon the numbers that are utilized as multipliers for economic impact, you're taking the expenditures for operating as well as the expenditures for developing the facility, and you're running it through the economic impact multipliers. What we see is that total, you're looking at construction at about 42 million and operations at about 4 million. And in this, you see phase 1 generating about 10 million in economic impact just from the development of phase 1 as well as the operations of phase 1. And looking at creating about 137 jobs as part of that as well. When we get to phase 2, that's when obviously the economic impact increases significantly with the indoor year-round facility and the amount of activities that could be held there and the number of visitors that can be drawn into Franklin County from outside the area. Looking at that phase, roughly about 32 million in economic impact from development and operation, and about 790 jobs or so will be created for that as well. When you see phase 3, you're looking at a little bit smaller impact, but when you factor in construction and operations, it would look to bring in about a $4 million impact with about 100 jobs created for that. Now, this economic impact here does not include what we refer to as direct spending from visitors. Thank you. That you will see here on the next slide. But in total, each phase combined would bring in roughly about 46 million in economic impact from the project and 1,000 jobs. So when we look at direct spending from visitors, this consists of both overnight accommodations and food, entertainment, shopping, all of those combined across all industries. There are two types of visitors that we see. Those are day trip visitors that are really close in proximity and will skip into town for a day, half a day, whatever the tournament may be, and go ahead and move on. The overnight is where you really see a greater impact on direct spending. So direct spending for overnight is between $110 and $130 per person per evening, whereas direct spending for day trip visitors is around $29 to $39 per day per person. Obviously, families that stay overnight will spend more than those who are there for the day trip. Phases 1 and phases 2 have the greatest economic impact as well as the greatest direct spending, since those have the capabilities for regional draw and will bring people in from outside the county. Combined, we see that the total per person per day spending from the operations of all phases to be between 15 and 18 million annually to the local economy. And that's pretty significant. It's also important to know that the youth sports market is one that's been growing exponentially over the years. And even during the pandemic, individuals were still trying to find locations where restrictions were lighter or less in order to be able to take their children to participate in those, still having as normal a quality of life or normal routine as possible. We anticipate that the market will continue once the pandemic and all areas that are restricted are a little bit lighter. But just in case that continues, it's important to look at some design alternatives to allow for that exhibit area to become an open air type facility, thus allowing you to have more visitors within that space instead of less, and allowing you to still achieve more of the outcomes than you would be able to if you were restricted and or closed under the circumstances. With that being said, I think it's a great opportunity to go ahead and move into the action plan. So overall, the action plan directs the county and the department to be prepared for operations as you saw within the design. So you'll see here strategies 1.1 through 1.4 are all operational strategies on staffing, operations through policies and procedures that will need to be established, as well as customer service and marketing. When you look at 2.1 to 2.3, these are surrounding the financial components as well for this project, and that is the financial implications of the operational model. It is, when we began this process, there was talk of a potential dedicated funding source for this project. If that funding source were able to become established and a reality, it would help pay off the bond for the property and still leave revenue within the reserve to take care of any improvements, because these are all man-made objects. At some point in time, things will need to be fixed and or replaced. And so utilizing those funds to build that reserve would be a great way to lessen the overall impact when things do need replaced. Also looking at the development of a multi-pronged capital campaign, the sponsorship dollars that we talked about, again at mid-range, give you an idea that there's a greater potential out there. That greater potential also comes from developing all three phases at the same time to obtain those naming rights and do one capital campaign for the entire site instead of doing it in 3 snippets. And then lastly, the revenue model to sustain the system. The revenue model talks about fees and charges, making sure that market rate is charged for those services that really truly do add value for those who are coming in and visiting from outside the area, but also to ensure that there are appropriately priced residential fees as well as part of that. Ultimately, without a dedicated funding source to help with the development, that there will be a gap in revenue. unless it's determined to build all 3 phases simultaneously. The bigger bang for the buck would be to have one construction period that is only disrupting the flow of the park for 1 period instead of 3, as well as the ramp up in operations would only be 1 period to ramp up operations instead of 2 and maybe a half with phase 3 being a little bit smaller. The synergy of having all the activities at once will increase participation, will increase the excitement about it, as well as the services and revenue, and the bottom line with the debt payment included. We were conservative in the revenues and less conservative in the expenditures, so as we stated, there is room to dial those up a notch. That notch is more significant if all phases are developed simultaneously. So in closing on that point, the greater benefit is for all 3 phases. You will have success if it is done individually, phase by phase. You're just choosing to take that process a little bit slower, and that will impact the revenues and the participation.
There you go. Thank you. All right. Get that mic too. All right, so thank you for bearing with us. Again, this is a highlight of a 80-page master plan and feasibility report, which is a summarization of a 200-page report that we've been putting together. I know there's going to be lots of questions, so we can get to those now.
If you would, let's leave that up there.
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call your name and. Okay. Okay. Sure. Well, I think we need to get. If you don't mind, I'll just let people go, and then you can come up and ask. I'm going to give each of you 3 minutes to give your question. If you want to ask a question to them, you can come up here and ask a question if you want to do that, or give a statement, but we will have to stop you after 3 minutes, okay? Tamara, you ready?
Is there anybody else that maybe wanted to sign up? I noticed that people...
Tamara was out, caught every one of them as she came in. Okay, thank you. That's good. Tamara got them as they came in. Okay, we're going to start with Mike Grugen. If you don't want to speak, if we call your name and you don't want to speak, just please say it. We'll go to the next. Mike Grugen, thank you. Yeah. If you'll come up and say your name right here, and then you've got 3 minutes.
And I'll let you know when you're down to 30 seconds.
All right, I'm not going to speak 3 minutes. My name is Mike Grugen. I'm the golf coach at Kentucky State University. I came just to ask a couple of questions, but now after watching it, I've got something I want to say. I don't know how many of y'all ever go to driving ranges or anything, but for the past month, I'm probably at Man o' War driving range 3 or 4 days a week. And I've probably been at hundreds of driving ranges over my career. I've never seen a 240-yard driving range that anybody's going to go hit driver at. And when you move it down another 20 yards, you've taken my players, the only thing they're going to be able to do is hit irons. They're not going to be at drivers. You go to Man o' War, they've got, there's a big demand right now. You go to Man o' War, they've got 12 bays, heated bays. Every one of those bays has got 2 mats in it. You go over there and you walk down through there, you don't see anybody hitting irons. They're all hitting drivers. I think you've way overestimated the success possibility for this driving range. And my question originally was going to be, how tall is the net going to be? Because I thought it was going to be cut down to 275 yards. And I thought, well, maybe a 50-foot net would work. But at this distance, it's going to have to be 100 foot tall. My men right now hit the ball over the road as it stands now. So I thought this was going to be a good thing because they're going to put a net up and they can hit drivers. Because half my team hits the ball over 300 yards. And now, if you cut it down into the grass, they won't be able to hit more than a 7-iron. And I think you're going to find when you go, all anybody hits at these driving ranges, these young people, that's all they want to do is hit drivers. And they don't like hitting irons off mats. So if you're going to do it this distance, I think you're not going to take in near the money you think you might. Now, it's nice that you're going to do it at nighttime. I think that's a good thing. And I think it's great that you're keeping it open. You've got a practice area. I don't know how big that practice area is. It looks real small right there.
It's about 5,000 square feet there.
So it's going to have like a putting green, a chipping green, or a sand trap, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that may be okay. But the range itself, I just think, and the rest of your numbers, I've been in business in this community for my entire life. I've lived here my entire life. I think your numbers are way out of line. I don't see any way the revenue ever is going to be even close to what you're saying. I mean, I have a pretty good handle on this community. So, I don't know. I think it's great. I think the convention center should be about half the size that it is, and move the driving range back.
Mr. Grugen, thank you very much. Thank you for your work. Olivia Atkins.
Okay, this is just a statement. This is not like a question. Okay, hello, my name is Olivia Adkins. I'm a sophomore at Franklin County High School. I'm involved in multiple things at FCHS, like being co-president of my sophomore class, running cross country, and participating in clubs like Key Club, Beta, HOSA, and Student Council. Through that big long list of activities, I love most swimming. Growing up, we were told life is not fair, and the way I've truly learned this is through being a swimmer. In the city of Frankfort, I've never seen a sport more mistreated than swimming. Ever since me and my brothers began, this has been an issue with finding somewhere to swim. For years, we swam at KSU, but every single year there was something wrong with the pool. From the holes in the plastic that we pushed off on, which, by the way, a few swimmers cut their feet on, to the pool being so cold that we couldn't even get in it. There have been ongoing issues. For years, my family and I have had the hope that someone in Frankfort would see the need for a pool and finally decide that it is time to build one. Though people over the years have seen this issue and tried to create plans, or at least inform the people that are in charge to make this facility, it has been turned down each and every time. I can remember a plan being made that housed an indoor facility called Swim Play Frankfort in Frankfort a few years ago. My family and I, as well as other swimmers and their families, were ecstatic over the idea of getting a stable place to swim. But just as they always have, the leaders of Frankfort crushed our hopes by saying no. This year, FCHS and WHHS swim teams started off strong. We were practicing 5 days a week, and it was looking to be a good year for our teams. One day we were in the pool, and our coach Kelly came up to us near the end of the practice and said that the pool would be closed indefinitely while they checked on something with the water heater. Obviously, this happens every single year, so I was not surprised, and I thought it would be fixed in a few weeks or two. This did not turn out to be the case. The water heater was broken, and it could not be fixed easily. It would require a lot of money, and KSU informed us that they would not do it. Myself and my teammates were devastated. We were left with only Saturday and Sunday practices in Shelbyville, with 4 days a week in Versailles for just the 2 weeks over winter break. You may be wondering why this is. KSU is the only indoor pool that we have in Frankfort, and it is not working. All the surrounding pools are booked solid for swim teams. Since there was a survey sent out last year asking what we would like to see in Lakeview Park, I was hanging on to the tiniest piece of hope that you all would see how much an indoor pool was needed and build one. Well, obviously you saw the need, but because it was the number one thing asked for, but you turned it down for reasons I cannot understand. Thinking about the night my mom sent me the article discussing the meeting, I can remember the feeling of my heart sinking in my chest. You all know that this is something that we need. We could make a lot of profit off of this, and it can be used by people not only that are swimmers, but actual people who just go to swim. And it would bring in a lot of money, so there's no reason that you all can say this. This is the time for Frankfort to make a move. We cannot sit around and act like...
Finish up your sentence.
Okay, we cannot sit around and act like this is not an issue. We need an indoor pool in Frankfort.
Thank you. Emily Atkins.
You want that?
No, I don't need.
Can they use the microphone?
Can
You all can't hear back there? Okay, my name is Emily Adkins, and I have lived here pretty much my whole life, born and raised here. Use Lakeview Park all the time with my kids. I appreciate the work that you've put into this, but I can say that there's a lot of things that I see here that we're expanding on that really aren't getting much use already now. And the one thing that this community really, really needs is a pool. We do not have an indoor pool in the town at all. So we are driving our kids to surrounding communities, and we are the capital city of Kentucky. It's embarrassing. And we're missing lots of opportunities to hold swim meets. And it's not just about swimming. If we had a facility that could hold a lot of other activities as well, and I don't want to take away from golf either. I think that we need all these things. But I think there's a lot of things here. It's very busy. There's a lot going on that maybe we don't need, and we know that the one thing we do need is an indoor pool. Like we said, we're driving to other communities, but I've been doing this for 20 years. My oldest son is about to turn 21, and since he was an infant, I have been driving him to these surrounding communities to use their facilities because Frankfort doesn't have one. And all this time, I kept thinking, as much as Frankfort is growing and what we're doing, that we will eventually have that. And my kids became swimmers, and they started swimming, and we had a pool that kept going down, and it wasn't being repaired, and we had an opportunity to build a facility that ended up getting put on the back burner, and we got an outdoor pool instead that only gets used part of the year, when we knew what we needed was a facility that could be used year-round. So I feel like we keep missing opportunities, and this is going to be another missed opportunity if we don't talk seriously about getting a pool. And I know that that's the number one thing that people answered on that survey, was that they wanted an indoor pool.
Frank McClovic.
I don't need that. I've taught for too many years. A couple things. Obviously, if the pool was the number one priority, that should be considered. I realize there's a whole lot more expense for a pool, but you're going to get a lot from the schools. But there's a lot of adults and so on, and seniors that work out in pools. They worked out in the Y pools, worked out in K-State's pool till they, when they got a chance until recently. A couple other things. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said you should generate about $5 million a year. Is that right? Okay. Yes. Based on that figure, that's kind of like $15,000 a day every day of the year. I'm wondering if the local parks and rec are going to have to pay for renting the fields to cover that expense. If the local schools are going to have a softball tournament out there, if they're going to have to rent the fields and so on to cover that cost. So, there's a whole lot of things to consider there.
Thank you, Frank.
Judge?
Who?
Do you want us to
respond
to any of these comments or questions so people understand the recommendation?
I'll give you 30 seconds for a response. But I thought, I've got a room full of people who want to speak.
You all go first, and then
okay.
There's a number of responses.
Okay.
So
Charlie Baglin.
Like Judge Wells, I like tennis, former coach. I'm a USTA, United States Tennis Association official, and also a photographer. And I love tennis, and so do kids. And when I officiate tournaments like in Lexington or in Louisville or up in Cincinnati, we got kids that come from not just communities around, but from states around. We'll fly in, and they will spend money. They go to restaurants. They like to do things in town and stay at hotels. We spend a lot of money. I know that tennis isn't a part of this, but if it ever becomes an option, consider it. It's a moneymaker. I'm also a medalist in disc golf. I don't see it back on here, or maybe I'm just not seeing it. But that's an option too. Those people like to come in and spend money in our town, and we could like to grow that tax base. 3 points. The paved trails, I love those. I'm glad to see they're there. My family uses those. It's a great place. It's like a second home to a lot of people. I want to see them maintained, be nice to plant trees around them, make them more shady. Animals like that, birds like that, deer. This is a park, by the way, so it's a green space. So I'm hoping that we can show some homage to rabbits and raccoons. And maybe that seems silly, but deer like parks, and we like seeing them there. It's a green space. Everybody also likes airports. They like rifle ranges until you have to live next door to one. And so I'm wondering, because I just don't know, other than at the county fair, because I live over in Indian Hills, I hear the motorsports area. And I know that's a fun part, I've been to these. But I'm wondering if the committee can address how much usage this motorsports area is going to get for the people that live in the Maples and Silver Lake and other surrounding neighborhoods that would have to listen to this. How much noise will there be? Thank you.
Robin Antonucci.
I just had a question. I agree with a lot of things people have said here. My question is more on the funding. You mentioned a dedicated funding source for financing, or at least part of the financing. I'd like some more detail. I think there's a lot of questions about how we pay for this, how we can sustain this operationally beyond the construction and including the construction. And so if you could share some of that either now or later.
You've got 2 minutes to respond. Because that's her time. She's giving you that time to do it.
Yeah, so don't use it all, I got you. Under the circumstances, dedicated funding source that we're referring to is the heads and beds tax or hotel tax that would go to a sports and event tourism commission if established. That type of dedicated funding source where the individuals that are coming in and utilizing it are also the ones that are paying for it really makes a huge difference in these types of endeavors.
All right. Thank you. Melissa Eaton. Melissa Eaton, in the back, okay. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I'll do the best I can. Sometimes the handwriting is not Melissa's, hers is fine, but sometimes that happens.
Thank you. Well, first I'm here as a golf mom, and I definitely, you keep saying golf improvements. Again, I'm going to say golf improvements are not shortening that driving range. Oh, I don't want to use the microphone. I
can't hear you.
Okay. The golf range, you keep saying the golf improvements. My daughter golfs. She wants to play golf in college. She spent years here playing golf. I'm pretty loud. I'm going to start her time over.
Yeah. There you go.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, you keep making the statement of golf improvements. Definitely by shortening the driving range is not going to be a golf improvement. I know we've gone back and forth multiple times on the practice areas and the bunker and the putting greens. That has to stay for our programs here. That's very important to this community. I agree 100% with the pool. I have several friends that have students that we need a pool. I mean, we're the capital of Kentucky. We don't need a pool. We need a pool for sure. I'm also a resident of Silver Lake. How are we going to handle all of this traffic? Is there a lot of noise, lights with this golf improvement? I mean, how is it going to be for us as residents? I'm very curious of that. I'm also curious, I didn't get to hear, or I had a hard time hearing about the fair, like where the fair is going to go. And as far as there's the one area where they do the tractor pull, like I don't know why we would want to enhance that area when it's used like 6 days out of the year. There's a lot of noise that comes from that. I would think that would be something that maybe we could do away with if it's only used for 6 days out of the year. And I've also been told on multiple occasions that the city and the county had met several times to do something like this together. We have so much area, so much space at Capitol View. I don't understand why we can't have some of the fields that take up so much space in an area like that. But definitely, like the golf area is very, very, very big to this community. So I'm hopeful that you keep saying golf improvements. I hope that we make golf improvements and we don't go backwards. For our kids. I've also had some questions on the fact of some members being on the committee that have personal interest for business gains.
You've still got over a minute.
Okay, so I'm concerned about that. If there's a conflict of interest for a fiscal court member to have projects on this plan for personal gain or business gain, that's also come up with several people. And I've also wondered the source of the survey. There were so many people that didn't get the survey, how that was sent out. I would have hoped that it would have went to schools and the superintendent and the booster clubs and to people that have children, because most of this, is going to affect our children. So I was just curious on how the surveys were sent, because so many people did not have a chance to participate.
You've got 30 seconds to respond.
So there's a lot to unpack there.
Sorry.
Under the circumstances, a couple of things that were noted that I think, so I'll answer the survey question to start. So the survey was developed online and sent to the county to distribute. At that point, it's basically open to everyone. So I can't control who did receive it or didn't receive it.
Okay, the county sent it out. Andrew, would you tell him, Ms. Eaton, how we sent the survey out?
It was on our website, Judge, and our Facebook page.
And the newspaper had it published too.
Okay.
All right, and so we did the best we could.
Right.
And you're right.
And still received 875, which
Yeah.
is really good for the number of people in the community.
Thank you for your comments. Thank
Sure.
you. Let's give her a hand. Donna McNeil. Okay, sorry.
I prepared a written statement, and first I want to thank everybody for taking this endeavor on in the first place. I know it's a lot of hard work. I have a civil engineering degree. I'm a research associate with the University of Kentucky, but I'm also an avid golfer and an advocate for promoting golf to all ages. Gene Highland taught me and my son how to play golf on his dime. My son was a player on the Franklin County boys golf team. Gene was a great teacher and one of the reasons Franklin County has such strong golfing community. Additionally, I've held officers' positions with the Juniper Hills Golf Association, which is the largest in Kentucky that is in this county. And I've assisted coordination of running the Governor's Open tournament for over 30 years. There's a professional division in that group, and they're always looking for a driving range to hit golf balls on. They're not the average golfer. They hit far longer than 216 average. And so, and my son also can hit that golf ball over that road with his 3-wood, not just his driver, with his 3-wood. So they cannot use that length. I personally had no clue that this project was being considered until it was brought to my attention last October about the driving range. I've reviewed all the tapes on the park committee meetings. I wish to thank the fiscal court and the stakeholders for their hard work in developing a master plan. But as a research engineer with the University of Kentucky, I'm required to take an annual training for conducting research surveys. During the July 8th discussion of the survey question, Squire Mueller stated that he wanted the survey to ask what you, and I guess it's the person filling out the survey, wanted to see in the future and less of what they wanted done in the past. And you all as consultants said that if you are only looking to the forward of Lakeview Park, the survey can be changed, but it was an endearment for the facilities that were existing there, which I really appreciate you saying that. But it was decided to only look forward for the future of this park. And I think it was a missed opportunity and does not give a clear picture of the overall community needs and what was exploring for what was being done well in the park or not being done well in the park. I'm also disappointed that Squire Mueller and Squire Tracy continue to express to the public spoken through the surveys. I'm going to skip on. I didn't take the survey because I didn't know about the survey, for one thing. And I was in the park during the time that was open, and there was nothing posted in the park saying that there was a survey going on. Very disappointed with that. Also, I'm disappointed that the driving range was even not considered a priority from that perspective, simply because that there's a piece there.
I'm sorry.
I want to submit my comments for further recommendation, because I think that you also need to do a master plan for the entire county, not just the park.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you. Carmela Benassi?
I'm not taking my time until he puts that screen change.
Till he does what?
He's got to change the screen,
Change the screen to what?
where they have upgraded the range in the golf course area.
Okay.
Where she had, where they.
Keep going up, Hendrick. Okay.
And Rochelle's giving me her 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Rochelle, wait a minute, where is?
Bevington. Okay, my name is Carmelo Benassi. I'm the. Hello.
Yeah, you go.
My name is Carmelo Benassi. I'm the girls golf coach for Franklin County and Western Hills. I've been involved in this for the last 2 or 3 months. I also was not aware of anything with the golf program until October. I've been involved with this very, very extensively, and I've probably wrote 5 things 5 different times what I was going to write, and every time I do it, it changes. That's very frustrating. The questions I have is, it goes to the Hancock group. In one of the meetings we had, it was going to be $150 a square foot to build the buildings. How much in your plans you have that you proposed $32,000 to build this project is it cost per square yard to build? Square feet. Do you remember? In the meeting, you all posted it was going to be $150 per square yard.
Square foot.
Square foot. It's big. Robert Hewlett contradicted that. It was going to be over $400 per square foot to build. So the conflict that I have is the estimate that's going to build this building. Is there a dramatic difference in the price to build this building? The next thing is, your first proposal, the original proposal you had half of this thing was not up there. There was no grass tee, no covered park, no putting green. You all came back in the second proposal and added the putting green because it was very important to the program of the golf program. Then all of a sudden you kept saying that 15 bays, 15 bays. 2 times you did that. Mr. Judge Wells says we're going to go, and the magistrate and the squire both said we're going back to square one. Now this has been changed again. I thought we were supposed to go with the original plan. It's not.
Do you want 15? Or do you want 20?
No, sir, I'm not
How many
finished.
do you want?
Let me finish. You said 15.
How many do you
Now,
want?
let me finish. Would you like me to finish?
Okay, let him speak.
How did you come up with 40? It was never discussed. Never in those 2 meetings. Also, we asked for grass tees, which you put in, which is great. Being a golf professional for 27 years, I see several things with your drawing. Again, that's just my expertise. You have the pro shop on the opposite side of the golf course. You have the golf cart stage down behind number 9 green. There's no staging area to pick them up. There's no stage area to return them. Also, you have the fence at the end of the building where the range picker is going to pick up the range ball. Where's that tractor going to come and put the balls back in for the pro shop to use? That's just comments. My suggestion that I had was numerous things that you all have done a tremendous job for the community and the golf course. But it's amazing that the first 2 meetings, it was very limited, and now it's expanded. I want 40 tees. We have 11 schools that use the facility. And there's been several comments about how much use it does in school season. If you go to 15 bays, we'll not have it. 40 bays is not even enough, really. And we love that it is 40. My next question is, have you had a concept how far you're going to go up on that grass tee? Has that even been a thought? How far the grass tee is going to come up?
Carmela, if you don't mind, go ahead and ask your question, then we'll let them take the end of your time to not get into a question about.
How far do you think it's going to come up?
Keep going with you.
That proposed one?
Whatever you have, I don't know.
That's 248 yards.
No, that's 240 yards from the bay.
Oh.
You're gonna come up grass tees. How far were you planning on participating, doing that proposal?
But that's 240 yards from where the grass tees are shown.
How far is that grass tee?
From?
The bays. The bays.
Oh.
No. The bays were 240, correct?
I think we're getting into the weeds here.
Again, yes, sorry. So the first plan that we proposed was, as that process statement said, a preliminary master plan. We are not going to get it right on the first time. We're not, and again, we're still, this is still not 100%. And you're correct, I am not an architect. We will need to have the building footprint studied and more developed in order to fully, but I appreciate all of your comments.
Okay, we gotta keep moving. Okay. Me done? Okay. I understand.
1,000% we would further to do these improvements.
Okay, thank you. Carmel, you're running out of time, so.
All right.
1 minute.
1 minute. Again, I want to thank the golf community for this input from everybody that showed up. I think Gene Highland looks down because he was a very instrumental part of Frankfurt golf. I think that the Hitchcock Group has realized that golf in our community is a big asset to our young kids, seniors, everyone, ladies involved in golf. We appreciate the insight to try to keep golf in our community. Really do. Understand, I take this to heart because Gene is who I mentored on, and I think if he was looking down, he would like his legacy to continue in golf in the community. Also, the pool, in my opinion, is a very important asset. Anything that helps the park as a whole. One thing in the COVID, think about the COVID. Our number one thing that killed the United States, but our park increased. I thank the park for being there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Cole. Bill Cole.
Thank you. 15 years ago, 15 years ago, I went through a process similar to smaller scale, what you all are doing, when we worked with the fiscal court to do the Grand Theater. I'm president of Save the Grand Theater and have been since actually 2005. But in 2007, we got the fiscal court by a bare 4-3 vote to approve the Grand Theater, and coincidentally, to some discussion tonight, to use a dedicated tax that the legislature had approved for fine arts centers that had been used in Paducah, down for the Four Rivers, whatever, and for the Paramount in Ashland, if you're all familiar with them. And we were able to do the theater, $3.4 million, that 2% tax that was allowed for that, supported here. Now, the total room tax, I actually was going to question really that I think that some of the numbers are way under what the cost will be of things. But right now, Franklin County collects, Franklin County, the city of Frankfurt, 6% room tax, generates about $800,000. They showed a $1.8 million debt service, I believe. Now, I'm sure they got explanations about this. But you'd have to fund that, you'd have to, I think it'd be around 18% increase in the hotel room tax, which you can't do. There is no authority in the Kentucky that's approved by Kentucky to do that. I think Paducah has done something, but using room tax, they are collecting from a much larger market than what we have here. Again, we did a $3.4 million bond issue to do, and this is, again, 15 years ago, to do 428 seats, about $8,500 a seat. We certainly don't generate the kind of money that it sounds like these sports activities are going to generate. In profits, not profits, we're a nonprofit, but we may generate in a good year a net after we pay our bills of $30,000, and that doesn't have anything for capital replacement. So it doesn't sound like it works to me. $160,000, I agree with Mr. Benassi. I can't imagine, although I guess it was their number, I can't imagine that it's less than $50 million. To do it today, everything is so dramatically, I'm doing the engine house down on Main Street, we're spending $300 a foot. Am I time over? Thank you. Anyway, I'm done.
30 seconds.
Oh, well, okay, well, that really is it. I'm for the project, I just question that it has any viability economically.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill Cole. Stan Salchi?
Well, I came to support golf and swim, but I think everything's been said that I really are interested in saying, so I'll waive my time.
Thank you. Mark Coleman? You got a big round of applause for that, Stan. Mark Coleman?
Other than, I wanted to ask about the revenues. I saw that he made the comment that they were conservative, he said it twice, yet it came out to $947. I just know how, I'd like to see that breakdown.
Okay.
The revenues, where you got it, and what kind of vacancy you're looking at. See, 4 ball fields, 3 soccer, you've got it. Is it 100% capacity all the time? And that's not so. I'd like to know your analysis to get your breakdown, get down in the weeds like your fellow said.
Okay, well, we'll let you respond to that. You got time?
All right. Thank you. So, unpacking that first, the revenues. You'd mentioned the 900,000.
The last 3 digits was broken down to $1.
Was broken down to $1. All right. What was your second question?
I just want to know, I'd like to see a breakdown of how you arrived at that $5 million worth of revenue and what components, what areas, if softball's this, golf is that, driving range is this. How do you get down into the weeds and give me the $5 million breakdown?
And we have that broken down within their document, but within the time that we were allotted here today, could not go that deep into the weeds. So to get into where the revenue is coming from, we've created rentals, which is one of the revenue sources. Programs and events that would be operated inside the facility is another. And then there's ancillary services, which are your concession stands, things of that nature. And then we also have the golf and the driving range that's still in existence as part of those revenues. And your second part was specifically to, what was the second part of your question? Full capacity, thank you very much. We've got them currently at 70% capacity. That's really the sweet spot where you can avoid user conflicts, meaning motorsports with youth athletics, or those that are participating on the playgrounds and such, interfering with those that are on the sports fields as well too. So we created those areas for the revenue like we had discussed, and then base the revenue on tournament calculations, the number of tournaments and the number of individuals that will come with participants within said tournament. And so that's how we've come to those revenues. And again, judge, committee, all have that breakdown.
Your dog park people are going to get injured because they're going to get nailed by some amateur golfer.
All right, thank you for your comments. Katie Hedden?
It's not just kids that play sports in this town.
Amen.
I'm a mother to a golfer, a swimmer, a tennis player. We kind of play a little bit of everything, but I also play sports too. I'm also the president of the Frankfurt Tennis Association. I also like to say, as the president of the Frankfurt Tennis Association, I'm a little sad to see there's not any tennis courts. You say there's tennis courts in this town, they all need work. There's not one tennis court that the county provides. They're provided by the school systems, and there's 6 courts that are provided by KSU that an earthquake has hit. Go up there and look at it. There's also 6 courts that are provided by the city that have a rubberized surface with dead spots. It's completely unplayable. Okay? The other thing that FTA can provide is financial assistance. We have the ability with USTA and USTA Kentucky to help put courts into play. What other associations can give you money to make their courts or their fields happen? We got resources.
Thank you. Carmel? Carmella, I think Katie just challenged you for some money for the golf. Thank you, Katie. Eddie James. Okay. Anybody that doesn't want to use their time, just let us know, but otherwise. Leroy Brock.
I won't need your mic and
Where
definitely
that?
won't need your 3 minutes.
Okay.
My name's Leroy Brock. I'm the head football coach at Elkhorn Middle School and the president of Franklin County Youth Football. Coached football in this town for about 15 years. It's extremely important. A lot of that 15 years we've spent traveling all over the country to go to facilities very similar to this one with our 250 kids. So that's something that our community needs. I want to thank everyone for the work that has went into this proposal. I know probably impossible to make everyone happy, but it's definitely something that we support and just wanted to voice our support and our thanks for getting to where we're at. We'll get there at some point, but thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for coaching the young kids, Mr. Brock. Thank you. Aaron Ashcraft.
All right, I'm Aaron Ashcraft. Is this on? Yep.
It's on.
Hear me? Aaron Ashcraft, Frankfurt Disc Golf Association president, speaking for you today. Yeah, stellar plan. The amphitheater. Anybody here for amphitheater? Yeah, we got a few amphitheaters in the house. Okay, cool. Because that takes up a lot of space. I don't hear them people complaining. They're not real mad about that. I'm not real upset about it either. If I could get the other map, that would be better with the phase 3 further down in the plan here. Just go on into disc golf. Disc golf has been displaced in this plan. Completely gone. We tracked it through our UDisc app. We put somewhere around 1,200 rounds through Lakeview Disc Golf Park, through our disc golf course. That's money generated through whether they buy pizza at Da Vinci's or go down to Wendy's or they get gas. No matter what, generates some kind of sports revenue. But it's not here. It's not listed on this anywhere. We did have Superintendent Cobb, come and talk about some things. But when he got on the mic, all we wanted to talk about was two infeasible, if that's the right word, soccer fields that he just completely shut down. He's not giving up that land. But what I was able to speak with him on the way out before he gone was that disc golf, to use that kind of back area there behind the soccer fields. He seems to think that that's a pretty good area, so I knocked that out. I think that's what we're going to do, hopefully, as long as his board approves of that. I think that's a pretty good idea. These retention ponds down here in the bottom cost a lot to build a retention pond. Anybody coming for the retention ponds in Frankfurt? I don't think so. But down there in the bottom, that's where hole 3 and hole 4 was. Just last March, one of our 12 and under juniors hit an ace on hole 3. That's a memory, man. But right now, it's going to be at the bottom of a retention pond that nobody in any survey mentioned anything about. Nothing, it's not there. Disc golf, however, was 4% for the tournaments. I think 16% said that Frankfurt people had participated in disc golf. We've also got an Arboretum.
30 seconds.
Yeah, got a minute?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right, real quick. We want to use that one lower area. We understand that you want to build multi-use facilities. We don't want to get golf balls hit over our heads anymore over there on the driving range anymore either. So you all are more than welcome to take that and do what you want with it. But we would, however, like to be recognized in this lower corner right here to kind of put some funding towards disc golf. We care about the community. We give to charities and do all that we can. And I appreciate y'all's time and investment into this plan.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me say this to you, Mr. Ashcraft. growing up in an age when it was fun to throw frisbees, I thought I had some skill until I came out to try disc golf with you. I don't have skill. It takes a lot of skill
Come on
to be.
out March 5th. Come on out and see us. Right now, we've got 98 players coming to Frankfurt.
Awesome.
To play Lakeview
Disc golf. Awesome. Thank you. Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robert Jordan. I'm the Vice President for Frankfurt Disc Golf Association. I just want to expand on what Aaron had said. In that one app that people score golf rounds on the disc golf course, we had 477 people come and play last year. That doesn't count the other few hundred people that come and just play casually, families, people come in from out of town. We have pros come in that have $1 million contracts. They don't even want to score because they don't want people to know how they're scoring on a new course. All these people come in and play, and it's not on the map anywhere. I just want to mention that. I would like to be able to work with the committee in some way, if they do a retention pond, maybe improve it and make it a beautiful disc golf hole with a golf island, where that alone would be the feature hole to get a disc golf course. We have two new giant multi-purpose fields taking up 5 holes. When we already have in the school, there's going to be some multi-purpose fields back there, and we have the 3 soccer fields. I'm not sure what sport has asked to utilize that area, but I would just like to be part of this implementation in some way and talk to you guys about how to not destroy the disc golf course, because we have 140 to 160 people coming every other month to play in tournaments on this course. And if it's gone, we're not sure what we're going to do with that. The demand is growing every year for tournaments. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I think that's a great idea of an island in the water out there. Golfers have driving ranges where you can hit to greens out in the water. Except the only thing is, Mr. Jordan, I think we'll have to borrow somebody's border collie to go out there and swim and bring those frisbees back that don't make it there. But that'll be a good thought. Thank you very much. Jim Sutherland. Jim Sutherland. All right, Mr. Sutherland's not here. Let's go with Maddie Smith. Hi, Maddie. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hi. So I'm a swimmer on the Western Hills swim team, and I would just like to reiterate the importance of a pool. The amount of students that had times that suffered this season because we didn't have a pool to swim in. So many students that just didn't get the time that they wanted. And swim generates so many memories for kids. I mean, ever since you were little, you've been out in the lake, you've been out in the ponds, you've been out in the rivers. And the pool just keeps it going. The pool keeps those memories alive, and we need one. We really do. Just the amount of students that have come up to me and are like, "You have a swim team? What?" We need a pool to kind of represent that we do have a swim team, because so many students have showed their interest, and this can be a place for that interest. The Y ran through K-State for a little bit, so that was funding for their program with the pool, and so we just need a pool because the Y didn't have a pool. So yeah, that's just, we really need a pool. That's basically what I'm saying here.
Thank you, Maddie. You know, Maddie, being an educator, I remember when they built Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School off of Man of War, and I thought, I cannot believe they're building a swimming pool in that high school. That was the coolest thing. That'd be nice if the high schools had their own pool. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. I know. I hear you. I agree. I hear you. Jennifer Devine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage for the individuals to get up and speak in public. As a fellow member of this community, I appreciate everyone's courage tonight. And I think that we need to remember that our taxes are being spent. How long? That our taxes are going to be spent with the amenities that the park committee decides. And I think that we don't just have a public hearing to voice our concerns, that we look to our park committee to represent what the public has spoken in the surveys to say that they would like to have in this community. And the company that they hire to build a plan needs to represent and take into consideration what the public has asked the park committee to build, to show us, is this going to work for this community? It's not good for you to get angry at our civilians that have come in to express their concern. You are to take, the park committee, are to take the community's input. And I wish that we could say that you all are doing a good job on our behalf, but it does not, based on everybody's concern tonight, does not appear that you're taking us into consideration. I would just ask you, please take us into consideration. We pay taxes and we elect you all for a reason. Please, I implore you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great job. And you're right, it does take a lot of courage. Thank you. Ginger Pruitt. Thank you.
Well, I would rather be having my teeth pulled right now than doing this. But I just wanted to thank you all for your time, because I know you've put in a lot of effort. I'm not going to cry. Anyway, I do have kids in this community that swim, and they've not had any real opportunities. They're at a huge disadvantage to all the other communities. We go to Shelbyville, we go to Versailles, we go to Georgetown, we use all their pools. All our money is going to their communities. That money could be coming here. When you all put up the guiding principles, I thought, oh my gosh, a pool meets all of those. There's a huge draw with swim meets. When we go to these meets, people are packed in there like sardines. I mean, there could be lots of money brought in. Some of these meets last weekends. So that's lots of people in hotels, lots of eating, lots of doing other things in the community. So I just think that a pool should definitely be part of this community.
Thank you, Ginger. Steve Pruitt.
I'll certainly try not to cry either. I don't have a whole lot extra to add as far as the pools. Just I have no civil engineering background. Looking at the plans, it looks as if that building could be scooted back and give the golf course what they need. Motorsports Arena, that, as was mentioned, uses 6 days, maybe a year. That's a lot of wasted space. And for those that are looking for disc golf or a pool or extra golf practice putting greens, whatever else you may need, there's a lot of wasted space up front there that is just, I don't know what it's going to be used for. And if all you need is green space, I'm sure there's plenty of that in town. that you could find somewhere else. But we have a desire and a need for a pool in this town. There is thousands of dollars that get spent during one match. The teams have to come in, pay just to swim. Their families come in, watch them. It's outrageous the amount of money that could get spent just in there. You're looking at the phase one of doing baseball fields that are already there. They're already generating the money that they're going to generate. You spend more money on them, they're not going to generate more money. There is already the ability there to have those tournaments, those weekend tournaments. You've got four fields there. You've got the ability to do it. You may need to improve parking. That's not a big issue. We've all known and know that we need the convention center is a great idea. Since the one got torn down here in town, our kids have to go out of town just to graduate. It would be great to have something like that here. You could have that, a pool, basketball courts. You could have all that stuff in one place. It's just not really in the right spot right there because it's affecting too many other things that are needed, that are bringing in money already. Like I said, the golf course, my son tried it out for golf. Mr. Benassi tried to teach him, and he didn't do that real well. So he keeps swimming. And he's been really good at swimming. He loves it. It's a sport that gets everybody involved, gets your whole body involved. Look, I could use it. We don't have a pool in town. Look at me. So there's certainly a need for it. And I know everybody knows that we've got it. I know it's a desire of the town, of the city, of the county, because it was the #1 voted thing that they said they wanted a pool. They wanted an indoor swimming facility. It's nowhere on here.
Because it doesn't generate revenue.
Which is ridiculous, because we, as my wife mentioned, we are going out of town. We're going out of town to spend way too much money that could be brought in here.
Thank you. That's it. And Mr. Pruitt, like your son, I tried to learn golf from Mr. Benassi, and I've gone back to tennis too. Okay, next is William R. Logan. In other words, Bob.
I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. Number one, I agree that we need a pool. Why don't we work with the YMCA and get it rebuilt and incorporate the ability to have pool tournaments at the pool, and that way we don't have a duplication of effort. I can't understand why the YMCA is not even here represented at all, because...
They're from Lexington.
They said that their swimmers can go to Lexington. They're not concerned about building a pool.
I know, but under the Frankfurt YMCA now follows under the Lexington umbrella.
Right, so they don't care about
I know. But the next thing is how much of the city of Frankfurt is going to input into this effort? They're going to benefit from it also. Is this going to be exclusively a county effort? County taxes? Although the city and the people in the city do pay county taxes, but what input is we going to get from the city? Traffic. I live in Silver Lake. What's going to happen to the traffic, or how it's going to be handled to get the traffic in and out of here when we have these tournaments with hundreds of people down to across from Silver Lake and Indian Hills? Somebody needs to consider that. Was the traffic study done? How are you going to handle it? No. It's going to expand the highways. You're going to have to install a light probably out there in front of the park and all that kind of stuff. That needs to be considered. That's an additional expense. And golf, brother, you better keep the golf going, or my wife is going to have some heads real quick. Am I right? You know her, don't you? Carla Tiller. Yep, she knows. So you better keep the golf up and about, or there's going to be a lot of disgruntled people in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Charles Smith.
Thank you. First, I want to commend the young ladies from Franklin County and Western Hills for their eloquence and passion about swimming. my wife shares your compassion for swimming. But my compassion is tennis. And I don't understand why in the first preliminary report there were tennis courts involved and now there are not. I don't know if that's a question for the Hitchcock Group or a question for the Parks Committee or who decided to delete the tennis courts. But that's my question.
The Parks Committee, by a vote of 2-1, decided to eliminate the tennis courts.
Okay, do I have more time?
You do.
And the other thing, yes.
Hold on.
Anyone from the firm, was tennis identified as a program of want and need from the studies that you all done, and was it a part of the first one? Or did that come after the fact? Judge Wells sent a letter saying tennis was a #1 priority, phase 1 priority, which was followed up by an email from me saying that wasn't the case. More than glad.
This is Mr. Smith's time.
Well, I went to Lakeview Park and I wrote down that tennis was a priority to me. And it seemed like in the paper it was about, 48% of the people wanted tennis. And I don't know whether it was your comments or their comments that tennis was a dying sport. It's not a growing sport right now. And I love my golf people, but golf rounds were down for several years, but they started coming back because of COVID, because people were working from home and people could social distance and play golf. But the city has a nice golf course. The county has a nice golf course. It's a quality of life issue. We don't have a nice public tennis court in the city of Frankfort.
Mr. Tracy. No. He didn't ask you a question. Are you asking Mr. Tracy a question?
I'm asking, if it was the committee, I'm asking Mueller.
That's the answer to that.
The committee was the one that changed it.
You said 2-1 vote. I'm trying to explain my vote.
No, you explained it to me on the phone. I understand.
I'm just trying to get some clarification from the firm. That way everybody knows that all the rhetoric that's been spread can get cleared up. I'm just trying to help everybody.
This is a public hearing, so let's let the public speak, Mr. Tracy. Thank you.
But I would reiterate what Katie Haddon said. Every public course in Frankfort is terrible.
Sir, I don't disagree. I traveled to Frankfurt after the judge told everybody we only had 4 courses in the whole town. I wrote that there's 26. I spoke with Ms. Haddon at length about that.
Yeah.
Okay? But like I told you, if we could get everybody to step up their game, guess what? That's circulation for the whole county. Da Vinci's Pizza does well. Downtown Frankfurt does well. Everybody would do well.
All right. But 6 tennis courts in the park would help that situation.
Okay. Squire Tracy, I'm going to say this. Please stop. You're out of order. You're out of order, Squire Tracy. I'm sorry.
But I've traveled quite a bit. Henderson, Bowling Green, Paducah. I'll leave this for you guys. Even Shelbyville and Versailles now have upgraded public tennis courts, and Frankfort's just falling further behind.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you. Bill Clyre, I think I'm saying that correctly. Yes, there you are. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to congratulate the fiscal court, okay, for taking this on because it's needed, okay? And thank you for the consulting group, okay? Thank you for your hard work. This is something that we have to invest in for Frankfort. We just have to agree that we need to make some investments in this community, and this is a good start, okay? But we have to realize it is a start. There's a lot of needs, as the tennis people are absolutely correct. The golf is, those are all things. Now, everybody knows Falling Springs and Versailles, right? That's model, okay? 2000, the cost was $5,490,000. I don't know anything about this revenue, all this that happened. I don't know if that was even considered. It was paid for by a city-county split by the number of residents.
There was $11 million in state money involved, and it was put into the budget last month in the conference committee for Falling Springs.
Well, I called Woodford County Fiscal Court just before I came here, and they didn't tell me anything about $11 million. So like I said, I can't dispute that. Is this on?
Yes.
I can't dispute that, but that's not what I was told by the fiscal court and in Woodford County.
That's okay.
All right. So at any rate, detailed financial statements. I'm a banker. Okay, we really need those. We need to know what the hard dollar cost is this for the community and how much the taxes are going to go to pay for this. I mean, that's absolutely true. The people in the community need to know how much this is going to cost. Okay, they need to know that, and we got to be willing to pay for it. It's an investment in the community. In my opinion, too much is going into too small of a space. Is there land available for a sports field complex someplace else in the county? It would be a lot better if we could have sports fields in a large complex where the soccer, baseball, football could all be accommodated. They're absolutely correct about the driving range. That won't work. It's too short. I mean, I'm a golfer and I'm old and I can hit farther than that myself. Okay, so that's true. We need a long-range plan. There's been a lot of investments that have been needed to be done in this community for a long time, and we're all trying to address them at the same time. Okay, so we just need to decide where to start, and I think this is a good start. This is a good start. We're not going to be able to get everything for everybody, so we need a plan. We need a plan, okay? Got magistrates here. Terry, I know you're here. Michael, Judge, we need a plan, okay? That's everything I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Eric Wisman. Eric Wisman. If anybody wants to give their time up, we're okay with that if you want to. But keep going if you don't, please.
Thank you, Judge. I just want everyone to give our two students a round of applause for coming and participating tonight. That's who we're building things for, right? On my time as city commissioner, one of the main priorities I had to come in was to start a comprehensive park plan for our community, right? And I don't say that to take credit, but I went to the county and asked all the magistrates to join us. And one of the evidence things tonight we're seeing is that we're still in silos and still disjointed. We have three sides of this park that adjoin the city, and yet we have no reference to what the recently adopted city parks plan is doing. I'd like to ask the fiscal court maybe to expand upon what I know has informed this plan and talk and give the community more information about what's informing this plan, because there are other components of our parks and other parts of the city and the county that are going to meet the demand. I think a lot of that is missing in our conversations tonight, and I encourage all of you all, rather than making your comments to this great panel who are using their skills, you have a couple of people that are informing and making the decisions about what's being presented. So make your comments to the elected officials. We need to stop working in these silos and start developing this entirety of this county. And I hope this is just a phase one to look at what's going to come as an entirely comprehensive county park plan where we can build other facilities. We have the Elkhorn Creek within 500 yards of this facility, and we have no mention about access, and I know that came up many times. And what I think is the most important thing is that what I brought to you all when I initially talked to you, we have to have an indoor sporting aquatic facility in this park. This is where, this is the only location in the city that it makes sense. The largest area development in our county is on this west end, or sorry, this east end of the county towards Fayette, towards Scott County, which will be patrons to our facilities. and makes sense to build this. I think we need to explore some other options. I hope the fiscal court will delay adopting this indefinitely for the time period and have more input and have more components, because we have other options to us. We can have a public-private partnership that can build an indoor aquatic facility, manage it, run it at no upfront cost to the fiscal court, to the taxpayers, and develop what we want, which can be built 10 stories high if it needs to and on a smaller footprint. So I think we have a great opportunity here. For the first time, I'm proud in our city and our county's history that we have comprehensive plans for our park systems for the very first time that has a lot of public input. So we're on a trajectory to the right path, and I compliment you all and everyone for taking that effort and going into this, but we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of bugs to work out before we finalize these plans. So I hope that we have more time and the public engage more in the process.
Jamie Bennett?
It won't be about golf or swim, I promise. I would like to just give you an observation, and that is I think there's an elephant in the room that's not being discussed. All these things are great here. We do need an indoor pool. We do need tennis courts. But what makes Frankfort unique right now, at least in my opinion, is people are already coming here. Buffalo Trace had 340,000 visitors last year. I don't know that they're going to come for a welcome pavilion or a splash pad. There's some great minds in this room, collectively. Not all of us, but collectively. Let's figure out how can we make people want to be here overnight. If this is it, I'm all for it. If it's not, we need to figure out what is.
Thank you, Jamie. Mr. Bode Boris? Miss, I'm sorry, I apologize. I apologize, I'm so sorry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bode Boris, longtime Frankfortonian. I love sports. You know, I've done every sport out there. You know, I've even tried that Frisbee. But I just want to say, I mean, at this point, you know, I was in Hawaii for 3 years and worked there, and I just got back. And, you know, what I came here to say was more of, I want select soccer back here. But then after hearing everybody else, I want a pool. I mean, when I lived in Anderson County, you know, my stepdaughter, she swam, 2 of them did. We had to bring them up here to Frankfort or Falling Springs. I mean, Frankfort is the capital. And I've coached select soccer. I've coached at high school. I coached in middle school. And I've traveled all over, not only here in the state, but across the regions to play all these sports, or actually coach these sports. And the fact is that we don't have the infrastructure, and we're leaning toward you guys and the city. And we all need to be here together, like the gentleman just said, working together to get to this point. I'll pay for taxes. I'll pay a certain amount of taxes for whatever. And I feel like you guys will too. I think E-Town had a great model with their sports complex. I think that was probably maybe 10, 15 years ago, where they hiked up the taxes for restaurants and hotels. And I think that's something that you guys are doing. But we're 10 years behind them. We need to get up to speed. And so, you know, if all of us work together and we are paying part of that 2% tax or 1.5% increase for sales tax on these items as well, but then the visitors are coming, you know, we're going to make that. I mean, it is successful over there. Why can't we do it here? And this may not be, I mean, it's a small area here, so we can't squeeze everything in here, you know, but we also have infrastructure for tennis courts already. Why can't we rehabilitate those? I mean, I work in the transportation, you know, I work for federal highways. I work for the roads. With all this big bill money coming, you know, there's not necessary for this, but I'm just saying there's money out there, and we got to tap into those things if we work together. And so therefore, I mean, I commend you guys And you guys have done a good job laying this out, but I mean, hearing what people are saying, we're not matching up. It's just like the infrastructure for the roads. We're talking about traffic. You're talking maybe right now we have maybe 1,000 ADTs on that little road on Stedmantown Lane. But when you have people coming in there, every weekend for tournaments, you're talking maybe, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people. And we don't have turning lanes. And then you talk about a headache. And you talk about maybe the crashes. It's a big thing that we're looking at. And so I just appreciate your all's work, but I want your all's leadership, to move us forward, okay? And then work with the other folks in the room right now to help out.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Borges, I'd like to say this, just a clarification on what you said. Elizabethtown was able to get a restaurant tax. They added a 3% restaurant tax on. That money goes directly to paying the bond for their multi-million-dollar facility. At this point in time, Frankfort, the city of Frankfort and the county of Franklin does not qualify, is not eligible for that tax yet. But it is working its way through the legislative process as we speak. So, as part of tax reform. So maybe there will be a possibility. And if so, if the city and the county could do a 3% restaurant tax, which you all would have to be willing to support, then that would bring in a revenue stream of somewhere between $4 and $6 million a year. And that revenue stream can bond lots of money. So, well said. Thank you. Andrew Kent. Andrew has decided to leave, okay? Andrew, sorry we missed your comments. Caroline Williams. Thank you.
My name is Caroline Williams, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about pools, but I'm going to go on and talk about pools. I'm a former swimmer. I'm from Florida, came up to Kentucky to swim for UK. I'm very, very passionate about swimming. I'm very proud of my girls for standing up and giving their opinion about swimming. Everybody heard you. Thank you for doing that. I'm shocked that we don't have an indoor pool in Frankfort. This is the capital. I'm shocked. We used K-State for a long time. It wasn't reliable. It always had problems, and everybody knows K-State has no money. It's unfortunate. They have a beautiful 8-lane pool that's empty. No water in it. It's very sad. There are a lot of people that are passionate about swimming, not just me. I used to teach water aerobics. There are a lot of the elderly that need a swimming pool year-round, not a summer pool, a year-round pool to help walk. Okay? There are so many people out there that need an indoor pool. Not just for competitive swimming, and I have 2 children that swim competitively. And I'm driving to Versailles, and I'm paying for my kids to have pool time. I help coach the high school team. I coach at Frankfort Country Club. I have had to go to Versailles and rent pool time for $50 an hour to rent pool time. And that's per lane. It's ridiculous, the amount. And I would charge each kid that came. Depending on how many kids came, we'd split it out between everybody. They're making our money. Like it should go here. It should not be paid to them. And I'm tired of that. I will do whatever it takes to start it. We have a parent here tonight that started a petition. Did you not start a petition?
Yes, less than 24 hours ago, and already over 150 signatures.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are passionate. Ron Durham, he needs the water. He needs to walk. There are a lot of people that have injuries, that need rehab. Water. They need water. There's no way you're going to get hurt in water. That's where people need to go. You're buoyant. It's good for everybody.
30 seconds.
I don't need 30 seconds. Build us a pool. We need a pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Ron, it's good to see you. Good to see you, brother. Michael Brighter.
I'd like to go ahead and beat on that dead horse. How many surveys did you say y'all took?
We got 875.
875. What was the number one addition everybody wanted?
Depends upon the question.
Well, not improvements to existing, but addition. Was what?
It was pool.
A pool. We need an indoor pool in Frankfurt. We need it. We know we need it. We want it, but it's not on this master plan right here, and I don't understand why. Yeah, why? Why isn't it on the plan?
You can answer if you're asking him a question.
Thank you. So a pool is in the document as recommended that the county move forward with an aquatic center. It's just, as was noted earlier, we identified that this property is not large enough for everything that everybody wanted on that list. And therefore, we had to go with the guiding principles as to what generates the greatest amount of the goals. And that's why the pool did not. But the recommendation is there for the county to seek additional land and to move forward with an indoor pool.
All right. So how far down was motorsports on that list? And retention ponds. And, I mean, the number one thing we need is a pool. And I'd like to know why disc golf isn't on here too. There's already a disc golf course. Are they taking that out, or is that not a consideration? Is it just gone, or?
As stated earlier, it's in consideration to utilize school land and partner for it to be in the back area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a pool.
Thank you. Chris Talon. Chris Talon. He's already gone. Chris Talon. Already gone. Now this one I'm not sure. Daft. Is there Daft? Duff. Duff.
He said he only put his last name.
Okay, sorry, Duff. Okay, he's gone. Vince Lang.
I'd like to thank Michael and Scotty and the judge and the consultants for the work you've done on the project. It's extensive, it's taken a lot of work, and seems like the themes tonight are disappointment. I think down deep we're glad that there's things happening. Everybody wants everything in life, and there's no question. The other theme is we have to travel away from our county, the capital of Kentucky, to do the things we really enjoy doing. Swimming, seems like that it's almost unanimous in the room that that is something that's needed in the community. Disc golf is not included there. I'm here to advocate for tennis, and I'd like a reconsideration of having tennis put back into the plan. Kind of surveyed other capital cities, and obviously cities like Atlanta and Boston and Indianapolis and Nashville have them, but I've looked at smaller capitals, and Jackson, Mississippi has indoor facilities. Look at Lincoln, Nebraska, Santa Fe, New Mexico, really all across the country. These facilities are needed and wanted. I play tennis. You've got 6 months that you can play on basically dilapidated courts inside the community. So 6 indoor courts would be excellent. Charlie Smith, we have a tennis team that have played together for about 10 years. We've won 6 or 7 state championships, and we've never gotten to play in our own community. We can't host these events in our community. We go to Henderson, we go to Owensboro, we go other places. We bring our money to other cities. We need that dollar to come into Frankfurt. It's so important. It's a great activity. So I just wish all these things could be included. It may not happen overnight, but I'm here to advocate for tennis and all these other activities, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And again, it's hard work being on a fiscal court, making decisions. I was county judge in Hart County for 3 terms. Never made anybody happy, I don't think, the whole time. But so it's a hard job, and they are to be commended for the work they've done. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Vance. Allison Wood. Allison Wood. Okay. Troy Hearn. There he is. Okay. We're almost finished. We've got about 10 or 12 more. We'll get there. Mr. Hancock, you're on the list.
Thank you, Judge. Something I didn't see on the maps are simple things like connections from these neighborhoods for folks to be able to walk and or ride their bike to a park. Imagine that. Are there connections that you show on any of the maps for like access to Indian Hills? I dare say there's 1,000+ homes within a half a mile of this park. And I hate seeing parks that you have to drive a car to. And that's what it looks like. We're designing a park here that you have to drive a car to. And I also would ask, for the connections we have now, they need to be made better and safer. I live in the Maples neighborhood, and to go across our neighborhood over to the shared use path there is like a gauntlet. The posted speed limit now is 45. I dare say people travel much faster than that. To put an entrance at the bottom of the park where you've put there is going to cause major collisions. People come around that sharp turn there. So I used to work with Transportation Cabinet. I'm not an engineer, but I know enough about traffic to know that the speed limit, the posted speed limit needs to be lowered there, and some of the walking connections into the park need to be improved. And then what Eric Wisman said, I would like to see you work better with the city. I know the city has done a park master plan, but I don't know if the city has plans for bike walk connections through Indian Hills. I know there's no sidewalks in Indian Hills, but there's an old rail bed that goes through that neighborhood into the park. I'd love to see that used in some way, and love to see it go to the Elkhorn Creek. That to me seems like a no-brainer. We're talking about stuff here that cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you can't get the simple stuff right, then why are you planning for all this crazy expensive stuff? So just keep it simple. It's a park. I'd love to be able to see people be able to walk and ride their bike to the park. Currently there's signs that say there's no bicycle riding on that shared use path. I think that needs to be changed. I know why that is that way, but just keep the simple stuff in there, and I'm more just the biking and walking kind of guy.
Thank you, Troy. Good work. Thank you. And thank you for what you do with the ride the bikes in our community. Bo Craycraft. Hey, Bo.
Want to thank magistrates. Want to thank you guys. I don't know anything about park development. I know you guys have spent a ton of time on this, and I know it's hard to listen to a bunch of resident experts, so I'm going to try not to be that. I'm just going to say, I think 25 years I've been a legal adult. Don't ask my wife how long I've been one. She might not respond yet, but 25 years I've been here. I was a student at Western Hills. I'm now a parent. I'm a soccer guy, but we've heard a lot about what we want, and what I really want is my kids to stick around here.
Amen.
So I have some grandkids to play with one day, and I'm going to speak for almost no one that I went to high school with, except for a few, are here, and it's because there's been no growth. You know, there's been no population growth. There's been no job growth. And so there's not a lot of reason to stick around. And so we need to invest. And I get it. I mean, I would love a pool if I was a high school student. You know, we used to joke about the pool upstairs at Western Hills.
Sold tickets there.
But I was for Swim Play Frankfurt. And unfortunately, you guys weren't around or old enough. But that was a city, county plan. Okay. And so I have a hard time punching holes in this, because this is just one. I mean, the county's trying to build something that can attract people to our city, and a multi-purpose facility that has gyms and can be retrofit for tennis or whatever, like for an event. It just has more opportunity than a pool. So I get when you're limited on space. So I vote in favor of this plan because I want our community to grow. And I want our community to have better programs. I am a soccer guy. Our recreation program has never been worse. I'm just going to be honest with you. You know, and I'm a club guy. I've spent the last 14 years. My son is done. But I was in Bradenton, Florida yesterday. You know, so this isn't about my kids, but I would love to see my grandkids get to have a chance to do this. So I am in favor. I appreciate your all's time, and I appreciate your all's work, especially you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Good job. I remember when Bo used to sell tickets at Western Hills to the second floor, to the pool on the second floor of Western Hills High School. That's a joke, Bo, but anyway. Patricia Waldridge.
I will have to say, and I'll just be honest, as a city official, we do, as officials, sometimes get in front of ourselves and we forget, some of us forget that you guys are why we're here and your tax dollars is why we do what we do. Yes, do we need a pool? We do. We should not be just reaching out to Kentucky State and complaining on why their pool's broke. That's a university pool. That's not a city pool or anything of that nature. My number one issue is communication. It leads back to what several have brought up. The city, the county, the school systems. We need to communicate. We don't need 3 or 4 pools around here. We need a really good pool. We don't have one pool. We have a wading pond at Juniper Hills that we call Aquatic Center. Why? The city. We did not make it as big as it should have been. We went smaller. Why? Because the wrong people were serving at that time that didn't have kids, that don't go to the pool. We keep making things mini. Why do we make things mini? Frankfort needs to be larger. We continue to say we don't want to be known as state government or capital city or what have you. We're not making anything else bigger than what the state government is. We continue to make small things. It's continuously politically driven sometimes, and it's ridiculous. We push a certain thing because that's what we are. My son's a soccer player, and I would love soccer fields. And we push soccer fields as a city, as a county, and finally got the school systems to do it. We talk about these young kids. It's bravery that you guys come and you speak because this is it. They're leaving. They're not coming back. They're not bringing their kids here. They're not raising their kids here. But that conversation needs to be with the school system. Where's the school system at today? Anyone in here with the school system besides our students? Because you guys have a huge budget that can really build a pool right now. Or where we can all get at the table and build one together. That's awesome. They can have lanes, period. We did talk with Kentucky State on helping them manage their pool. It's not just a $30,000 fix. You've got pumps that are getting ready to go out. You've got other things that's getting ready to go out. And as soon as we help fix and put our money there, our students may even be locked out. We don't know what that relationship looks like. We have to build what our community needs. We need cohesion in our community from the city, county, and schools for this community to grow. We have to step out of our own ways. Judge, also with this, I understand sometimes you may not be for everything. How long have you been judge?
What does that have to do with it?
How long have you been in leadership?
7 years.
7 years. We're 7 years behind, buds. We're more than 7 years behind. And we've got the same folks standing up here over and over, continuously.
We don't need to be political.
Continuously approving. Continuously approving.
Parks, Patricia, please.
Continuously approving things like this. These men and women here have done this, and they clearly said that the pool system was number one. There's not a pool. I'm not saying a pool should go here, but there should be community of where the city should be responsible for a pool or the school should be responsible for a pool. We have to grow with this park, and we have to grow Frankfort.
All right, Kevin Hall.
I'll go ahead and start speaking. Anyway, grew up here in Frankfort, love Frankfort, all that good stuff. Won't take my 3 minutes. From what I've heard, I don't want to rehash. I thank everybody for what they've done and things like that. A couple things. We do need I live in Versailles, and I know how many people come up there and use those facilities. It's a great facility. I would love to see Frankfort emulate that. It would be nice. To me, an aquatic indoor pool should be the top priority. Even though I didn't really come here to do that, I came to I'm the coach of Franklin County. I love golf. We have multiple state champions and teams here. It's a huge part of the community. This plan that I see just really just kills it. 15 bays when you have 40 golfers out there just isn't going to get it. And plus probably the 240 yards that you have, probably 40 yards of that would be a teeing area. So we're probably looking at about, a par 3 hitting range. That's just not going to cut it. I'm also a big disc golf enthusiast and stuff like that. Seen a lot of growth even in Woodford County. When we host tournaments here, guess where they go for some of their rounds? They go to Versailles and go play at Falling Springs. I know the disc golf has just been shoved off of there into the back of Franklin County. It's only a matter of time. Long-range project, probably new Franklin County High School will be built on that. But, the disc golf is one of the fastest growing sports that we have. I would really love to see the park and the green space stay there for that. It brings in, we're turning people away in multiple tournaments at the disc golf tournaments and things like that. There's waiting lists. People can't get in. And we just need more disc golf. Brings in a sizable revenue too for that. And again, thank everybody for what they've done. And
Kelly Caldwell.
Hey, it's nice to be here. I started coaching Franklin County swimming in 1995. There was a group of parents in the late 90s and the early 2000s that met together in a group of leaders just like this. And they said, we need a pool. And we were swimming in Bell Gym Pool at KSU, not the nice Exum Center, but Bell Gym Pool. And Kentucky State has always been good to swimming, but Kentucky State is not. They are not in the business of providing amenities to the community. That is not their job. That's not why they built that pool. I was told that over and over and over, year after year after year, especially when we tried to get out of Bell Gym Pool into the Exum Center. We don't want you here. And I agree with that. They shouldn't have to do it. But as long as they were standing, the community would not do anything else. Because we always heard, you've got the YMCA and you have KSU, what are you fighting about? And they told a really invested group of parents, no, over and over and over. We have had state champion swimmers and we've never had the facilities. Imagine what we could do if we did have the facilities. We've had kids go to LSU, the University of Florida, Georgia Tech, and we have a swimmer not very long ago, and she has national records in swimming, and we don't even acknowledge it. I do think that Brad Thomas had a great plan, and it just seemed like that everybody just blew him off. And his idea was to bring people together. The city, the county, the schools, the hospital, the hotels. He wanted to bring everybody together. He wanted to go big. And everybody just blew him off. I never could understand that. I always think of this word like altruism, and I think that to be altruistic, you have to care for others the same way you care for yourself. Well, I would like to ask our leaders to care for others, their community, more than they care for themselves. It seems like in this community, like Mr. Wisman said, we're all in silos. The county doesn't want to work with the city doesn't want to work with the hospital doesn't, and it's everybody wants to do their own thing, and as a result, we get half of what we should get, or sometimes nothing at all. I appreciate everything that everybody's done, but I have been to a lot of meetings like this, and I've walked away hopeful, and then I've only been disappointed later, and like my heart tells me that I've wasted 2.5 hours and I missed my dinner tonight for nothing. I hope I'm wrong.
We hope you're wrong too. Brad King, I think it's King. I'm not sure. Brad King? Kemp? Brad somebody. Somebody named Brad? Okay. Patty Cross? Okay.
Public speaking is not my forte, so I'm also a written statement. I joined the Franklin County Fair Board, you know, that motorsports thing. At the time, the fair was preparing to take up residence at its new home in Lakeview Park. Several board members had served on a committee to locate property and help guide how it would be developed. They ultimately selected the Carter Farm as the county's new park and the new home for the Franklin County Fair and Horse Show. I stand here as a 30-year member of the board who has seen, who has seen the park grow from farmland to the property we see today. From then until now, much of the early planning was abandoned, and some current elements seem to have just dropped into place at will. I welcome this planning process. I only hope it is completed in a well-thought-out way and that the end product is not rushed and the plan comes to fruition. I look at and listen to the long wish list for recreational facilities, and I think they're all great ideas. I'm not bashing anybody else's projects. But there is not room to please everyone at Lakeview Park. All over social media, we see folks wishing for or demanding that there be facilities for gymnastics, swim teams, performing arts, dance and cheer teams, ball fields, and so on. At the same time, the city has recently completed its own parks master plan. And I echo the comments that several have recently made about why couldn't the city and the county sit down in a room together and divvy up all of these wonderful things that the community needs instead of duplicating. I wish there had been an opportunity for that, so that we don't duplicate recreational opportunities while others are left out and green space disappears. When we first moved the fair to Lakeview Park, it seemed everyone who came to our fair from other parts of the state, and yes, we do have people coming from all over the state and surrounding areas who come, and spend the night and whatnot, that it was very beautiful and one of the prettiest in the state. We would like to thank Park Director Charlie Lewis, who has answered many of my earlier questions, such as would the fair still have space, et cetera, and the horse shows and stuff. Now I wonder how the construction will affect the fairs, and how can we host a fair while the park is in mid-construction of one or more elements of the plan. It hasn't been that many years since Expo was going to skip a year for construction in the Capitol Plaza, and then there was the second year and then Expo was gone. We don't want that to happen to the fair. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Patty Cross deserves a big round of applause. She's been on the fair board since its really inception. Thank you, Patty, for your service on the fair board. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, this person deserves a round of applause. Last but not least, Mr. Joe Hancock. Thank you, Joe. Give him a round of applause for waiting here all this time. Thank you, Joe.
Does that mean I get extra time?
You take what you need under 3 minutes.
No, we've all been here long enough. I don't need any extra time. I think what we're seeing here is a culmination of a lot of things. Culmination of a lack of, vision, lack of planning, lack of, quite frankly, leadership. This plan right here does not solve the whole community's problems. We have had no leadership for 25 years. We can't put everything into this plan. We're not going to solve all the problems with this one plan. We're not going to be able to build you know, we need pools, we need tennis courts, we need more golf, we need athletic facilities, we need all this thing as a community. Because we haven't done anything in this community for 25 years. We haven't built anything in 25 years. As the swim coach said, you know, back in 1995, we were talking about building something to swim in. Why are we talking about it in 2022? Still talking about it. You know, we need to get all on the same board, and is this perfect? No, but this is going to right a lot of wrongs. You know, it's got the community center, which our kids are going to be able to graduate in. You know, that's going to right a lot of wrongs. You know, the athletic fields and everything else are secondary. You know, we can't shoot down this plan just because it doesn't give us everything that we want. There's other parks in this community that are barren almost, that are absolute not being used for anything, that would be perfect for some of the things that have been discussed in here tonight. That would be perfect. You know, but because of the lack of planning, the lack of vision, and the lack of leadership in this community, we haven't put it all together. It's time we start putting it together, plain and simple. Let's ask for more, let's expect more, but let's not shoot down this plan because it doesn't give everybody everything that we want. Thank you.
All right, first, thank you Hitchcock Group. Appreciate everything you've done. You've heard the community speak tonight. Thank you for your listening, and we'll be back in touch. Most importantly, thank you. Your voices are what is important here. This was an opportunity for you to speak. Thanks, everybody. I'm proud of how you all behaved on the inside here anyway. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Franklin County.